You ever notice how life has this funny way of kicking you out of places you thought you'd die in? One day everything feels settled. Same streets, same people, same routine. And then suddenly, it's like something bigger whispers. Pack up. You're done here. No warning, no map, just a feeling. A pull. Like the ground itself is telling you to move before it buries you. You fight it at first. Of course you do. You built your comfort there, your identity, your little illusion of control. But deep down, the place that once felt safe has started to shrink. The air feels heavier, and the silence feels louder. That's when you realize you're being pushed towards something new, something unknown, something that doesn't make sense yet, but it will. Comfort zones collapse when growth calls. It always starts quietly. You don't even notice it at first. Just little cracks in the routine, small moments that don't feel the same anymore. The things that once brought you peace start to feel heavy, almost irritating. The faces around you start to blur. The laughter sounds rehearsed, and the life you built begins to feel too small for you. It's not because you failed. It's because you've outgrown it. But you don't see that yet. You think something's wrong with you. You think you're losing it. But really, it's just life rearranging itself to make room for your next version. Comfort is a dangerous thing. It tricks you into believing that safety means happiness. It keeps you still, quiet, numb. It convinces you that if you just stay where you are, everything will be fine. But deep down, you know it's not. You can feel the walls closing in, the air getting thinner. You can feel that ache inside, that whisper that says, "This isn't it anymore." You try to ignore it, distract yourself, drown it out with noise. But the whisper doesn't stop. It gets louder, sharper, until one day it's not a whisper anymore. It's a command. That's when the collapse begins. The job starts to crumble. The friendships fade. The plans fall apart. And you're left staring at the ruins of the life you thought you wanted. You think it's bad luck, bad timing, bad people. But maybe it's not bad at all. Maybe it's divine interference. Maybe life got tired of waiting for you to move and decided to move you itself. Because when you won't walk out of the comfort zone, it burns it down for you. It hurts, but it's necessary. You were never meant to stay somewhere that doesn't challenge you anymore. Growth doesn't happen in peace. It happens in discomfort, in confusion, in collapse. You see, people think growth is beautiful. It's not. It's ugly. It's violent. It's the death of everything you thought you needed. It's the loss of identities you clung to, the shattering of plans you built your worth around. Growth is chaos disguised as evolution. It takes what you love and makes you question it, takes who you are and forces you to become someone else. But it's not punishment. It's transformation. Because comfort might keep you safe, but it'll also keep you small. You can't hear the call for more when you're surrounded by what's familiar. That's why life shakes it all up. It forces your hand. It breaks the routine that numbed you, the patterns that trapped you, the illusions that lied to you. It doesn't ask if you're ready, it just moves. And you either fight it or you follow it. But here's the thing. Growth doesn't wait for your permission. It doesn't care if you're scared. It only cares if you're willing to listen. At first, you'll mistake the collapse for failure. You'll think you lost control. You'll think you've been abandoned. But it's the opposite. You're being guided, redirected, repositioned. You just can't see the new land yet. The path doesn't appear until you take the first step. That's how it always works. You move first, the map shows up later. It's terrifying, but that's how you know it's real. Growth doesn't come with guarantees. It comes with faith. When comfort collapses, your real self starts to emerge. The part of you that's been waiting for change finally breathes. The mask slips off, the old dreams die, and you start to see yourself for what you really are. Raw, unsure, alive. And even though it hurts, there's something freeing about it. You realize that safety was never the goal. Living was. Feeling was. Becoming was. Most people never make it past this part. They cling to the rubble, try to rebuild the same old life out of the broken pieces. But nothing fits anymore. Because the version of you that built that life doesn't exist now. You've changed, and the world around you must change too. You can't fit new growth into old containers. You can't step into the future with hands still full of the past. The collapse isn't destruction. It's direction. It's the signal that something greater is calling your name. You were never meant to stay comfortable. You were meant to evolve, to move, to break patterns that kept you trapped. The collapse is the invitation, the shove, the push into your next level. It doesn't come with a warning, because if it did, you'd never agree to it. You'd choose comfort over purpose every time. That's why life chooses for you. So when everything starts to fall apart, don't rush to fix it. Let the comfort collapse. Let the walls break. Let the silence stretch. Because what feels like an ending is just the sound of growth cracking through the surface. It's messy, it's painful, it's lonely, but it's real. The collapse isn't there to ruin you. It's there to show you who you've been pretending to be and who you're finally ready to become. The unknown is not punishment. It's direction. People hear the word unknown and immediately panic. They think darkness means danger, silence means rejection, and uncertainty means something's wrong. But what if it's the opposite? What if the unknown isn't there to hurt you, but to guide you? What if every time life takes away what's familiar, it's not a loss, it's a reroute? You see, the unknown doesn't appear to destroy your comfort. It appears to test your faith in what you can't yet see. It's the space between endings and beginnings, where nothing makes sense, but everything matters. Most people fear what they can't predict. They'd rather stay in the wrong place than risk stepping into the dark. They cling to the broken because at least it's familiar. That's the trap. Thinking that clarity is safety. But the truth is, clarity often comes after chaos. You can't see the whole picture while you're still standing in the middle of it. The unknown forces you to move without proof, to trust without evidence. It strips away everything you thought you controlled until the only thing left to rely on is instinct. That deep, quiet voice that says, keep going. The unknown doesn't punish you for what you've done. It prepares you for what's next. It takes the version of you that fit into your old life and starts reshaping it for the new one. That's why it feels uncomfortable, heavy, uncertain. You're being molded. The person you are can't carry the weight of where you're going. So life starts chiseling away everything that doesn't belong anymore. The habits, the attachments, the identities. All of it starts to fall apart. And while you're busy mourning what's gone, the unknown is quietly building what's coming. You think you've been abandoned, but maybe you've just been repositioned. Maybe that silence isn't emptiness. Maybe it's preparation. Maybe the delay isn't denial. Maybe it's alignment. You're so used to the noise of progress that you forget growth happens in quiet. Seeds don't make sound when they break open underground. Caterpillars don't scream when they turn into butterflies. Real change happens in silence, in confusion, in the unknown. That's where transformation hides. The unknown terrifies you because it removes your illusion of control. You can't plan your way out of it. You can't predict how long it will last. And you can't fake confidence through it. You just have to trust. And that's the hardest part. Trusting something that doesn't explain itself. Trusting that there's purpose in every delay, meaning in every detour, direction in every disappointment. It's easier to believe you're being punished than to believe you're being guided. Pain feels more believable than purpose. But sometimes the universe has to take everything away just to prove that you never needed it in the first place. The unknown exposes what you really believe about yourself. When everything familiar disappears, when no plan works, when no one understands, that's when you meet yourself. That's when you find out whether you were driven by faith or fear. And the unknown will keep testing you until you stop trying to control it and start learning from it. It's not there to scare you. It's there to strip you of everything false. It's the space where ego dies and truth begins. You'll notice something strange when you stop fighting the unknown. It starts revealing things to you. Little signs, quiet confirmations, moments of unexpected peace. The kind that make no logical sense, but feel right anyway. That's the unknown speaking in its own language. It doesn't use words, it uses alignment. It uses timing. It uses stillness. It shows you that not every answer needs to come right now. Some things unfold only when you're brave enough to stay. You can't grow while demanding certainty. Certainty is comfort dressed as control. It keeps you stuck in the same cycle, expecting different results. The unknown breaks that. It shatters the illusion that you can plan every part of your life and still feel alive. Because life isn't supposed to be predicted. It's supposed to be lived. And living means walking into places where the light doesn't reach yet. It means trusting that even in the dark, there's direction. Maybe the unknown isn't the void you think it is. Maybe it's just the space where the next version of you is forming. The old you has to dissolve so the new one can take shape. That's why it feels lonely. That's why it feels endless. Because you're in between identities, in between stories, in between what you were and what you're becoming. And that space, that in between, is sacred. It's where you stop pretending and start evolving. So maybe the unknown isn't punishment at all. Maybe it's mercy. Maybe it's the universe saying, "You've stayed too long where you no longer belong." Maybe it's not taking things from you. Maybe it's clearing the path for what's next. The unknown doesn't want to break you. It wants to redirect you. It's not darkness, it's direction. It's not the end. It's the road that leads you there. Detachment is the first step toward destiny. People talk about letting go like it's some peaceful, graceful process. But it's not. It's violent. It's messy. It's waking up one day and realizing the things you once thought you couldn't live without are now the very things keeping you from breathing. Detachment isn't about not caring. It's about finally understanding what deserves your energy and what doesn't. It's that quiet rebellion inside you that says, "I've carried this long enough." And once that thought hits, everything starts to shift. The people, the habits, the dreams, they all start to fall away, one by one, like leaves that know it's time to let go. You see, destiny doesn't move through clutter. It doesn't walk into crowded rooms filled with fear, doubt, and attachments disguised as comfort. It needs space. And that's why detachment hurts so much. Because you're being stripped of everything that doesn't belong to your future. You don't lose what's meant for you. You lose what's been blocking it. But at first, it doesn't feel like release. It feels like death, like your world is being ripped apart for no reason. You call it chaos. You call it unfair. But it's not destruction. It's direction. You're not being punished. You're being prepared. The hardest part of detachment is realizing that sometimes the things you love most are the ones holding you back the hardest. You stay attached because you think love means holding on. But real love, the kind that's pure, doesn't require chains. It doesn't beg or cling or demand. It lets go when it knows it must. Detachment teaches you that love and letting go can exist in the same breath. That you can still care deeply and still walk away when something no longer grows with you. There's a point in life where you stop chasing and start observing. You stop forcing and start flowing. That's detachment. It's not cold. It's not heartless. It's mature. It's the understanding that you don't have to fight for what's already yours, and you don't have to beg for what's not meant to stay. Detachment gives you the freedom to move without desperation. It turns your pain into perspective. You can't reach destiny while being emotionally tied to every outcome. You can't step into purpose while still trying to control every twist and turn of the journey. Destiny requires surrender, and surrender requires detachment. You can't carry your old self into your next chapter. You can't hold on to everyone and everything just because it feels familiar. Growth demands loss. And that's what detachment is. A conscious decision to stop clinging to what's collapsing. Sometimes detachment doesn't happen because you want it to. It happens because life forces it. People drift, situations crumble, dreams shift. And at first, you fight it, you resist it, you break your own heart trying to keep it all together. But eventually, exhaustion teaches you what logic couldn't. Not everything is meant to be saved. Not every connection deserves revival. Not every ending needs fixing. Sometimes walking away is the most powerful act of faith you'll ever commit. When you finally start detaching, everything around you starts to make more sense. You begin to see how much of your life was built on fear. Fear of being alone. Fear of starting over. Fear of not being enough. Detachment burns all that away. It teaches you to stand without leaning on what's temporary. It's not about shutting people out. It's about not letting them define you. It's about reclaiming the power you gave away, trying to be understood by those who were never meant to understand you. There's peace in detachment, but it comes after the storm. The storm is necessary because it shakes loose all the pieces of you that were stuck in the past. It forces you to confront who you are without the things you were attached to. Without the job, without the relationship, without the identity you built to feel safe. And when you survive that silence, when you realize you're still standing, something changes. You stop needing everything to make sense. You stop trying to control what's next. You just start trusting that if something left, it was meant to. Detachment doesn't mean indifference. It means clarity. It's not, I don't care. It's, I care differently now. You stop needing to be validated. Stop chasing closure. Stop demanding explanations. You start accepting that sometimes you won't get the answers you wanted, but you'll get the freedom you needed. And that's enough. People will misunderstand your detachment. They'll call it coldness, selfishness, arrogance. But they won't see what it took to get there. How many nights you stayed awake convincing yourself it was okay to let go. How much it hurt to stop fighting for things that once felt like home. Detachment isn't easy. It's survival disguised as strength. And when you finally step back and see your life from a distance, you realize something powerful. Everything that left made space for everything that's coming. The silence isn't empty. It's pregnant with purpose. The absence isn't loss, it's alignment. And for the first time, you start to feel light. You start to feel real. Because destiny doesn't chase the attached. It calls to the free. And the moment you learn to let go, that's the moment it finally finds you. Every ending location hides divine relocation. People think when something ends, it's over. They mourn, they panic, they call it failure. But what if endings aren't really endings? What if they're disguises? Masks life wears to push you somewhere you wouldn't have gone willingly. The truth is, nothing truly ends, it just shifts form. Every place you've ever left, every door that's ever slammed shut, every goodbye that ripped you apart, All of it was redirection in disguise. You weren't being buried. You were being planted. The difference is just perspective. We're addicted to control. We plan, we map, we hold on to routines and people as if they're permanent. And when something slips away, we crumble because we built our identity around staying. But destiny doesn't care about your comfort. It cares about your alignment. And sometimes the only way to align you is to end something you wouldn't have ended yourself. You call it heartbreak, betrayal, loss. But maybe it's divine relocation. Life moving you from one chapter to the next, before you self-destruct in the old one. When you're standing in the middle of an ending, everything feels like chaos. The floor drops out from under you. The silence gets louder. You start to ask, why me? But endings aren't punishment. They're permission. Permission to evolve, to move, to stop shrinking just to fit in a story that no longer wants you. You see, endings don't show up uninvited. They're summoned by your growth. The moment your spirit outgrows your environment, life starts rearranging everything around you. That's when jobs collapse, relationships dissolve, and the people you thought were forever start fading into memory. It's not coincidence. It's divine design. The problem is, we confuse endings with rejection. We think something's wrong with us because something didn't last. But some things aren't meant to last. They're meant to launch. Every person who left, every situation that crumbled, played its part in pushing you forward. Some people are bridges, not destinations. You weren't supposed to stay with them. You were supposed to cross through them. And when the bridge collapses, it's because you were never meant to walk back. Divine relocation doesn't always feel divine when you're living it. It feels cruel, unfair, even humiliating. You start from zero again, watching everything you built turn into dust. But maybe that's the point. Maybe the dust is sacred. Maybe it's where creation begins. Because you can't build something new while still clinging to the ruins of what used to be. You can't hold on to the ashes and expect the fire to return. The end of one thing always creates space for another. The universe hates emptiness. It always fills the void, but only after you release what's gone. When something ends, your first instinct is to run back, to fix it, to explain it, to make it make sense. But sometimes closure isn't meant to be found where it was lost. Sometimes closure comes when you stop asking why and start saying thank you. Thank you for the lesson, for the season, for the glimpse of what I needed to learn. That's when relocation starts. Not outside, but inside. You begin to detach from the need to understand and start trusting that you're being moved towards something better, even if it's invisible right now. The divine doesn't relocate you gently. It shakes the ground. It makes you question everything you thought was solid. It strips you down to nothing so that when you arrive in the new place, physically, emotionally, spiritually, you're not carrying the weight of the old one. That's why transitions feel brutal. Because you're being emptied. You're being prepared. You're being reset for what's next. Most people get stuck because they worship what's ending. They keep trying to revive dead things, thinking persistence equals loyalty. But there's no reward in breathing life into something that's meant to rest. Some stories aren't meant to be rewritten. They're meant to be released. Because if you keep feeding what's over, you starve what's coming. Divine relocation only happens when you surrender your grip on the familiar and let life move through you instead of against you. And sometimes it's not even about geography. It's internal. The new land isn't always a place. Sometimes it's a version of you that you haven't met yet. The divine doesn't always move your body. Sometimes it moves your soul. It shifts your mindset, your desires, your identity. It makes you crave different things, seek different company, speak a different language of purpose. The people around you might not understand it. They'll call you distant, detached, strange. But that's only because they're still standing where you used to be. You can't explain divine relocation to someone who's never been called to move. It's not logical. It's not planned. It's an ache in your bones, a pull you can't ignore, a whisper that says, "This isn't home anymore." You feel it in your sleep, in your silence, in the things that used to make you happy, but now just feel heavy. That's how you know the move has already begun. The divine always moves you internally before it does externally. The land changes inside you before it changes around you. So when something ends, don't rush to rebuild where you've been. Pause, watch, listen. There's a pattern in the pieces, a message in the ruins. Every ending is a coded invitation, an invisible map that leads you to your next destination. The only requirement is trust. Trust that if something is leaving, something else is leading. Trust that you're not being pushed out. You're being pulled forward. Every ending location hides divine relocation, and every tear you shed is just proof that something greater is already making room. Fear disguises itself as familiarity. It walks quietly, pretending to protect you, whispering that staying where you are is safer than stepping into what's next. It tells you, "You know this place, you've survived here. Why risk something new?" And you listen, because fear doesn't scream. It comforts. It makes you believe that the cage you've built is a castle, that the walls around you are there for your safety, not your surrender. You call it routine, comfort, stability. But it's fear. Fear wearing a mask made of predictability. Familiarity feels warm because it doesn't challenge you. It doesn't ask for more. It doesn't demand growth. It lets you repeat the same day over and over again until it becomes your identity. You stop chasing dreams. Stop asking questions. Stop taking risks. You start confusing stillness with peace when really it's paralysis. You're not calm, you're trapped. And the worst part, you don't even notice anymore. You've gotten so used to smallness that expansion feels dangerous. Fear is clever like that. It doesn't show up as panic or terror. It shows up as reason. It tells you to be practical, to be realistic, to play it safe. It tells you that failure would destroy you, that disappointment would be unbearable. So you shrink your world down to what you can control, what you can predict. You trade purpose for protection, and you call it maturity. But deep down, something starts to die. The part of you that wanted more. The part that still remembers what freedom feels like. Familiarity is a drug. It numbs you just enough to make you forget you're not happy. You convince yourself that this is what life is supposed to be. Predictable, controlled, manageable. You settle for patterns that no longer serve you because they feel like home. You tell yourself that stepping into the unknown is reckless, that people will laugh, that you might fail. But the truth is, the real danger is staying. Because the longer you stay, the quieter your soul becomes. It stops screaming for change. It starts whispering. Then one day, it stops speaking altogether. You tell yourself you're waiting for a sign, for the right moment, for everything to be perfect before you make a move. But fear will always find